Oh, hello, 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 and welcome to the summer season of Speaking with Confidence with Cat Matson. Yes, at time of recording, it is the week before Christmas, and I don't know about you, but I am certainly diving into holiday mode. So, over the next few weeks, I'm bringing you some of the best, some of the most popular, and some of the most enjoyable podcast episodes that I've recorded for you over the last year, maybe a couple years, just because there are a few goodies. Today, today I'm kicking off the summer season of Speaking with Confidence with Cat Matson with just my all-time favorite interview with Denise Duffield-Thomas. Now, Denise will be known to many, many, many of my listeners, but if not, Denise is an international money mentor. She has written numerous books, including one of my all-time faves, Chill and Prosper. She hosts the extraordinarily successful Money Bootcamp, and she also runs one of my favorite money mindset courses, Sacred Money Archetypes. And earlier in this year, I had the opportunity to chat with Denise around all things imposter syndrome, speaking to build your business, ADHD, how to overcome your fear of public speaking. Denise hates public speaking, but she travels the world and speaks on large stages. We also talked about how you can use speaking opportunities despite your nerves, despite having ADHD, despite hating doing keynotes, how you can use speaking opportunities as a way to increase your profile. So, it's just too good an episode not to re-share. Now, in resharing some of my favorite episodes, I know that for many of my regular listeners, you might have already heard this before, but you can't learn less, right? And I highly recommend that you just take another listen because, well, there's just juice. There's juice in the reminders. And I know that Denise's podcast, Chill and Prosper, is one of my favorites to listen to, particularly when I'm feeling a little bit frustrated or a little bit down or a little bit, oh my goodness, can I really do this? And so I'll just pop on one of Denise's episodes and I'll walk away being reminded that everyday people can create extraordinarily successful businesses. If you're new here, welcome. And what a ripper of an episode to initiate you into the Speaking with Confidence universe, so to speak. In the show notes, I've actually popped a link for other episodes that you might want to start with. It's literally called Start Here. And it's a playlist of the episodes that kind of give you a little mini course on how to speak with greater confidence, authenticity, authority, and impact. Finally, before I hand you over to this fantastic episode, I want to let you know that in early 2026, oh my goodness, how are we there already? In early 2026, I will be launching a brand new, really fun, really juicy challenge. It's a 5-day challenge called Unshakable, Overcoming Imposter Syndrome. And as the title suggests, it's how do you overcome imposter syndrome every time it rears its ugly head so you can show up, speak up, and contribute to the conversations that you want to contribute to without being knocked off your okayness with those thoughts of, I'm not good enough. If you're interested, just drop me an email and I will pop that in the show notes. Just let me know and I will ensure that you are first on the list to hear about when Unshakable, Overcoming Imposter Syndrome kicks off. But for now, as I hand you over to this fabulous conversation with Denise Duffield-Thomas, here's to confidence, here's to impact, and here's to a lovely, lovely, lovely holiday season. Well, welcome to Speaking with Confidence. Yes, that's me. And this is the show where I teach public servants, business owners, and other corporate hippies and humble leaders how to speak with authority, authenticity, confidence, and impact. Now, today I'm so ridiculously excited to have a guest, and that guest is Denise Duffield-Thomas. Now, I've invited Denise on the show because I have been following her, listening to her podcast, participating in her programs for years, and I love her approach. Her formal, fancy third-person bio says Denise Duffield-Thomas is the money mentor for the new wave of online entrepreneurs who want to make money and change the world. She helps entrepreneurs like you charge premium prices, release the fear of money, and create first-class lives. Her books, Lucky Bitch, Get Rich, and Lucky Bitch, and her newest, Chill and Prosper, give a fresh and funny roadmap to living a life of abundance without burnout. Her Money Bootcamp has helped over 8,500 students from all around the world. She calls herself a lazy introvert, a Hay House author, and is an unbusy mother of 3. She owns a rose farm and lives by the beach in a beautiful part of the world in Australia. Denise, welcome to Speaking with Confidence.
Thank you so much, Kat. And as you're reading that out, I was like, we're actually up to 10,000 people through Money Bootcamp now. And so I need to change that on my bio. And I'm just about to sell my rose farm as well. So yes, I need to update that bio. But thank you so much for having me, Kat. And for those of you who are curious about what a money mindset mentor is I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. I help people deal with the money gremlins that come up when we try and do something out of our comfort zone, whether it's asking for money, sending invoices, even just really being clear on our boundaries and our self-worth. I come at it from a real place of curiosity and help people to unearth and excavate some of those pesky money blocks so we can prosper, so we can do the things that we're meant to do and actually give ourselves permission.
Yeah. And that's one of many things I love about your material. I participated in your Sacred Money Archetypes a couple of years ago now. And it was such a game changer for me in discovering my top archetypes that then gave me permission to be the hippie and the flake and the alchemist, the person who's
The
making it up as she
alchemist.
goes along. But also, I
Yes.
mean, I'm a connector. So everything I do is about connecting people, connecting dots, and all of the things that you talk about in terms of those archetypes and the things that we perhaps overdo, like overshare, over deliver, don't ask for the invoice. Oh, but I just love it so much. I was like, oh yes, that's me.
Yes. Well, that's such a beautiful body of work. So it was created by a lady called Kendall Summerhawk. And I loved it so much when I found out about my archetypes that I certified in that program and then, created my business program in that IP. And it is a game changer because I think whether you are an entrepreneur, a corporate or a speaker, or even if you're, say, a dance teacher and you have a dance studio, we all often think we have to be everything to everyone and we have to solve every problem of everyone's life and we have to do it in a way that is palatable to everyone. And there's a real genius in knowing who you are and niching yourself and saying, well, I am going to be this kind of speaker. If you want someone who's really organized and sends their slides ahead of time, okay. But if you want someone who's going to bring creativity and fun and divine downloads in the moment, then I'm your person. And when you can be honest about that, then you can really attract people who are looking for that thing that you offer. I wish I'd known about it when I was in the corporate world because I really struggled knowing what's my fit here. And I was always getting into trouble for being too creative, right? And I could have found a place in that world, but I was trying to mold myself to be in that world. And I remember I used to work for PricewaterhouseCoopers in London, and I would have hives going into that office every day because it was like they had this green light in the foyer, and I kept on going and going, kryptonite, like my skin's burning. But now I'm like, I could thrive anywhere, knowing now that I'm allowed to be who I am.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And at the time when I did Sacred Money Archetypes, I was working in government. And so I gave myself permission to embrace more of who I am despite the environment, if you like. Now, let's come round to speaking. You first, before we get into the grit of ADHD and all of the things that get in the way of us speaking with confidence, from my observation, it seems that you have built your business with a lot of speaking, your podcast, course delivery, public speaking, large stages, small stages. Can you talk us through how significant speaking or I'm going to call it public speaking, even though it's not always on a big stage. How important has public speaking been to building your business?
So, public speaking really terrified me as a kid, but I also really felt the desire to do it. And I remember joining the debate team and I would be terrified. And I remember my English teacher, he goes, "You don't have to do this. Like, this is a voluntary thing." And I said, "I have to. Like, I just have to do it." When I was 16, I auditioned for this production company that did shows all around Australia. They did kids shows. I don't know if you remember in Westfields, they used to have Looney Tunes shows. Yeah, so I worked for that company. And I started off as a dancer. So it would be Bugs Bunny and the Pirates. I'd be a pirate. Bugs Bunny and the Indians. I'd be an Indian. But then I started to do crowd warm-up for them and random MC stuff. It would be like, okay, we're doing a parade. And so for 10 minutes, I had to stand up before the show and hype all the children up.
That's
So I'd be
actually
like,
hard work.
"Who's coming? You know, who's here to see Bugs Bunny? I can't hear you." And occasionally you'd get this dreaded thing. So the AV guy would go, right? You have to stretch it out another 5 minutes because he would be the one to give you, 3, 2, 1 warning. And so because I was being paid to do this and I was, at 16 to 21 when I did this job, I had to learn to be okay with that and that fear and to be like, okay, well, here's what we're talking about now. And what I realized is that I was born to do that because even though the idea of public speaking was scary, I was always getting in trouble for talking in class. Like, I could talk. And so my very first paid speaking gig in my business world was actually a government away day. So I love the idea of fake it till you make it. So on my website, in my bio, it would have Denise is a speaker, an author, and a coach. Okay, I had done my coaching certification. I had done a very hastily written self-published book. And I was like, I'm going to put speaker on there. So someone had obviously Googled me. I got a phone call. I was out with my mum at the shopping centre. And she was like, "Oh, hi, I'm calling, blah, blah. We're looking for a local speaker to speak at our government away day on the Central Coast at Terrigal Crown Plaza," right? And I was like,
Oh, I know that hotel.
"Yes." And I said, "Yes, I am a speaker." And then she said, "How much do you charge?" And I said, "What's your budget?"
Nice reply.
And she said, $500. And I said, "What a coincidence. That is my speaking fee." What a happy coincidence. And so I bought a new outfit. I was like, I'm not going to be a corporate, I'm not going to wear a suit. So I remember I bought like a little like navy boat neck shirt and a little pencil skirt with flowers on it and high heels, which is, I would never wear that now. And because I still felt like, okay, I have to be a thing. And I went and I did they must have just been like, who is this woman? I did it, I think, on Law of Attraction or Dream Boards or something. I don't know.
Cool for a
And
corporate away day.
I know,
For a government
right?
away day.
And they're all like mostly men. And I was like, this is great. And I was so, so proud of myself. Something happened though that I thought was really interesting from a money mindset perspective. So when I was with my mum at the shopping centre and she goes, "What was that all about?" And I said, "Oh my God, someone's just hired me to speak. It's like a 45-minute thing at Terrigal." And she's like, "What are they going to pay you?" And I said, $500. And I was like, "That's amazing." And she said, "Wow, that's my weekly wage at the nursing home." And at the time, she was a nurse's aide. So she was like 5 a.m., helping clean rooms and empty bedpans and do all this really hard labor work. And I remember feeling so deflated in that moment and guilty because I went, who am I to get up on stage for 45 minutes? We know it's not 45 minutes. Like there's the travel and the things and, all that stuff. But I was like, that's actually really gross. And it stopped me in my tracks a little bit. My next speaking gig was at a university. Same thing. This is really interesting, right? Just having on my bio that I'm a speaker and where I lived, people were just Googling speaker in Newcastle. no work of my own doing
Yep.
this, right? And so then I spoke at a university graduate day or whatever, right? And from there, I I had a couple of years where I'd only speak for friends,
Yeah, right.
pretty much for expenses only.
So I'm imagining, I might be wrong, I'm imagining that you eventually shifted and you started charging what we would now consider decent corporate speaking rates. How did you move through that money mindset piece? How did you kind of go, it's okay for me to pay a decent sum of money to speak?
It was a really particular thing. I went and spoke. It started to become not just friends, but friends of friends,
Mm-hmm.
where they'd be like, "Oh, we don't have a budget." And I was like, "Oh, fine, whatever, okay." And I think I just told myself, because I don't want to do this, it's okay for me to
Oh,
not charge for it.
isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because if I really said I was a speaker, then I'd have to charge for it. Because I'm
Yeah,
not
right.
a speaker, I've kind of given myself a little out.
Mm-hmm.
A little exception. So I went to this thing. It was a friend of a friend. I don't even remember who it was now. And it was like her mastermind event that she had. And I did my speech, and then I was there for the lunch, and then I did a Q&A, and I did all this stuff. And I got in the cab to go home, and she paid for my flight, maybe a one night accommodation. Um, I got into the cab to go home, and it hit me like a ton of bricks that there, like, physically in my body. And I think if I hadn't felt it physically, I would have continued to do this for a long time. And I went, there was no energy exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am the energy exchange.
Mm-hmm.
My life force energy had to make up for that deficit
Yep.
because it wasn't a clean relationship. And I was like, I felt crippled. I just got in the cab and I just went, ugh. I just went, it's not clean. I can't do it anymore. So then after that, I would just, even if it was a friend, I would say, this is my speaking rate. And you know what I had to do though? I had to get Mark to do it.
Yeah, right. So for those who aren't familiar with Denise, Mark is Denise's husband and I'm going to say key partner, collaborator and maker of things happen in the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's my launch manager and he also manages all the staff and things like that. So the problem is when things came to me, I'd go, yeah, okay, I'll go speak at your thing.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to him, he'd be like, here's Denise's speaking rate.
Yeah.
I had to hire someone to come up with my speaking rates for me and come up with a one pager
Yeah,
because I was
nice.
like, I don't know. I don't care. And she really helped me to do that. And then it became, all right, she did it. She knows, she was a speaker's agent in another life. And she was very clear, okay, local, travel buyout, international, whatever. And
Yeah.
she just put it in a one pager. And then the one pager could be my bad cop as
I
well as
love that.
Mark.
I love
The,
that. I love that. And
yeah.
so um do you now do a lot of public speaking in that regard? Like, do you get invited to a lot of conferences? Do you say yes to a lot of those invitations? Or do you now use speaking as a way of building your list, building your audience, bringing people into your ecosystem?
A little bit of both. So actually, when I first started to do local events, I just organized them myself. I actually called up all these businesses in town and said, hey, I'm a local speaker. I have this workshop. I'd love to come and do it at your
Mm-hmm.
meditation center, gym, whatever. And so I would have like 4 to 20 people in a room. I wouldn't charge for it, but then I would upsell my coaching. So that's kind of where I started doing a bit of speaking circuit. Then that little space where I did it for friends. Then what I did, I started to get a lot of invitations, and I actually don't love doing a lot of speaking. I
Mm-hmm.
have to
We're going to
admit.
come to that in a minute.
Yeah, we
I want
will.
to know
Yes.
more about that.
And so I felt really comfortable when I did my own stuff. I was kind of okay with that. And I did my book tour. I did it in cinemas around the country. That
That's
was really
fun.
fun. What I felt like there was, I felt like I had my own Oprah show because I was like, this is not a thing. Like, I'm just going to wander in the aisles and talk and answer questions. And I feel really confident when it's like a panel,
Mm-hmm.
um, people ask questions, I can kind of just chat. I think where I got into a tizzy was when I was like, wow, people are paying me to do a keynote. Oh my God. And I would start to I'd be like, what do I even have to talk to people about? Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't even like speaking. What am I doing? And so that was a real shift. And so another thing that happened, I got invited to a 3-day event where I was the keynote speaker, and we just kept on saying yes to this stuff. So they were like, oh, so there's a VIP breakfast. I was like, yeah, sure. And then it was like, oh, and then there's lunch thing where the speakers can go. You can go if you want. I went to every day. And then like there was a raffle where 10 people got to have a round table with Denise. And so I was literally like,
You were pimped out.
I went from on stage to this, like escorted to the room. I went to, and I actually on the first day it had in my calendar dinner with the speakers, and I was like, oh great, I can get to know the other speakers. And I was in London. I went to a show, had no makeup on. I turned up in this room. I was like, yeah, ready for dinner with the speakers. And they're like, you ready for the panel? And I was like, oh, I'm the speaker. It's dinner with the speaker. And I was like, sure am. I am ready for this panel. 70 people, cool. I'm the cool. I didn't realize. And where with the VIP breakfast, there was like 70 people again had bought a special ticket to have breakfast with the Disney princess. And I had to run it like a Disney princess thing. I was like,
Oh my
I'm going to come
goodness.
to each of your tables. Everyone have their phone ready. Let's stand up. Let's face the window. Let's take a picture. And even after that 3 days, I went to every lunch. I took photos with people. I still had people go, oh, Denise didn't sign my book, or Denise didn't do the thing. And what I realized was I was over delivering. And
Yeah.
I was so accessible that people would be like, oh, you know that photo we took yesterday? My eyes are a little bit close. Can we do another one? I was like, sure. I took photos with like 300 people, right? And I was like, oh, I'm not getting paid enough to do this. Even though I thought I was like, charged a lot of money and flights. And I was like, I felt really bad. I felt like, oh my God, they have to get their money's worth. And literally the other keynote speaker, he was there. He was like a famous fitness guy in the UK. He did his 45. He was already on the plane.
Yeah. And I mean, been there, done that,
Yeah.
and it takes a while for you to figure it out, right? It's just that sense of, oh, hang on a second, this is just another service, just like every other piece, and I need to be really conscious about my boundaries. I want to come
Well,
back to
can I just say one thing on that
yeah.
boundary? I went to another one where they were like, "Oh, Mark said that you're not going to come to the dinner, the VIP dinner," and that's so. And I was like, "Ignore what Mark said. I'm here now. What do you need? I'll do anything. That's fine. I'll go get a dress." And I went to like Macy's and bought a formal dress, and then and that's what and then I ended up being in one of the rooms, just like taking photos of people all night. And I went, "This is I have to watch this because I'm like." What do you need? Do you need, and I think that's my upbringing too, of
Yeah.
pitch in, being a performer as well. Like, it's like, you just have to pitch in and do it. And so I'd be like, what do you need? Like, oh, do you need some help setting up the room? Like, I'm here for you. And I love that. And also there's a line.
I just listening to you describe that, I hadn't articulated it for myself that way, but I'm the same. Like I've been facilitating events and hosting spaces for longer than I can remember. I also started with debating as well, actually, at school. I think that's where I learned to love it. And it is very much that, oh, let's just make this amazing. And it's like, oh, hang on a second. It's actually not my job to make this one amazing. I just need to do my piece, and that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. And being the speaker is enough of a contribution to the overarching event. I want
Thank
to
you for,
come.
I'm trying to take that in. Yes. I'll try and remember that, Cat, for the rest of my life. It's
Yeah,
hard still. Yeah.
I know. I'm the same. I
Yeah.
want to come back to this notion of you don't particularly like speaking, and you actually started to infer. It sounds to me like you're a bit the similar. Keynoting is my least favorite form of speaking. Let me MC, let me facilitate, let me be on a panel, let me just field question and answers. Tell me the difference for you. What is the difference between just being off the cuff, which most people freak out about, and delivering a keynote?
I honestly think this is a bit of trauma from my ADHD because um, I had to get very used to improvising as a kid. It was like, we don't have a costume for the hat parade. What can I rustle up? I haven't done the reading. I need to scan, you know, a book in the next 20 minutes and read a whole book. And so I felt like my process of, I didn't trust that process.
Yeah, right.
I felt like that was bad
Yeah.
and naughty.
Mhm.
And also I think I didn't trust the magic that comes in those moments. And people often don't believe me. I'm like, I could run a 3-day event with zero prep. And I've done it
Mhm.
I've done it many times because I'm like, it doesn't really matter. I think also when Mark came into the business, my husband, he'd come from a corporate background and he is a preparer. So he was the kid that did his homework assignments weeks in advance.
I
And
don't
so
understand.
I don't understand either. So he almost freaked me out a little bit because he'd be like, "You've got a webinar today. Like, are you ready? Are you prepared for it? Is everything okay?" Like, and I was going, I'm like, I felt like a naughty kid again. And I was like, oh my God, I am. And that's why I think that's why I felt like I couldn't charge because I'm like,
Mm.
I'm naughty. I'm a naughty kid. So this is not something I can charge for if I'm like doing it last minute.
Mhm.
And, um,
And if it
and
comes
then
easily.
if it comes easily, exactly, and you get those divine downloads in the moment, and it's just like, I don't know what I'm gonna say, it's just gonna come out. Um, I really distrusted that because I felt like, well, if someone's paying, I have to give them, like, something professional,
Mhm.
and especially if they wanted slides, I'd be like, "Yes, I'll send you my slides," and then I'd sit in my hotel room and just wanna vomit and go,
Mm.
"I don't know anything." What am I going to talk about? So that was really tricky. But then I realized too, being on a panel is fun because of the spontaneity. But then I want to answer every question. I'm like, I've got something for that too. I've got a whole story around that. And then I went, oh my God. So what I'm going to do from now on is I'm just going to say to people, hey, I don't do a traditional keynote. I'll answer every question. I'll definitely. I think it's like taking the pressure off myself to do that. I probably would end up doing a whole keynote
Mm.
anyway. But it's the expectation of it that was really starting to stress me out. And, yeah, and it didn't feel good, and it took up so much bandwidth that I was like, "I'm not getting paid enough to stress about this for 3 months."
Yep. I wanna pull apart this spontaneous magic and trust that you obviously now have,
Mm.
and I've actually
Oh,
heard you
getting
start
there, getting there.
I've also heard you kind of start podcast episodes saying, "I didn't really know what I was gonna talk about today, but here we are." Like, all of these things have occurred to me. Even when you don't know what you're about to speak about, what do you do mentally, emotionally, physically to trust in that moment that it's going to work? Because I just heard you also say that, "Oh, I'm still working on it." But so what do you do to trust that the spontaneity is going to work?
I completely put it out of my mind and, disassociate from the fact that it's gonna happen, I think. Um, I think being a performer, the ritual of being a performer is the preparation for me.
Yeah, right.
And so even though I would be absolutely fine with getting up on stage looking exactly how I do today, um, I get a spray tan, I put hair extensions in, I get my lashes and I get my makeup professionally done because that is part of the ritual for me
Got it.
of I am a performer, I'm getting into my performing space and I'm going to trust that I know the first step. If I think about it too much, I don't. So I'm just
Yep.
like, it's not happening. The other thing that I do when I speak in a room, and I think this is such a key thing for me, is I mingle in the room before I speak because then I'm speaking to friends.
Mhm.
And I've
And you've got
always
a
got
feeling
someone.
for who's in the room. Like, you can connect. It's not an imaginary, um, audience.
No, exactly. And I feel like, oh, I know that person now. I know that person. That really helps. And even to the point, my last big speaking gig, I was on after a break and I said to him, hey, are you okay if I just am sitting on the stage with you when everyone comes back from the break instead of like the big introduction and walking up the stage? And I was like, is that cool? The mistake I made, it was a very little stage and I'd spoken to so many people. Had someone come up and go, can you sign my book? And I was like, sure. And then someone was like, can I just get a quick selfie? And then there was like a line of people, like it was like 20, 30 people. And I was like going, oh shit, what am I going to do? But see, I should have just said, yeah, cool after.
Mhm.
But I'm accommodating and nice, right? And so, but that was really good to start on stage, like, hey, I'm just part of the team and I'm already here. There's
Yeah,
no big reveal. That felt really, really good to me to do
yeah.
that. I often also do tapping before I go on,
Mhm.
like EFT, to deal with any nerves that might come up. Like, as soon as I'm on stage, as soon as I start speaking, there is zero nerves, zero.
It's just the first moment. Yeah.
It
Yep.
is. It's that like, oh, I've got that, and that's why sometimes standing backstage waiting for them to intro you is the worst because
Mhm.
you can't do anything else. You just sat there just going, it's happening, what's happening? Um, and yeah, that's the hard bit for me. So I'm like, there's no big reveal. And also, I actually this is probably a bit of a crutch for me, but I often start my speeches with I'm an introvert. I don't do a lot of speaking. And it's very disarming, I think, for people, but
Mm-mm.
also for me, I say the thing straight
Mhm.
away. And I actually was watching a keynote that I did a couple of years ago. It showed up on YouTube randomly. And I started it and I said, I'm releasing the pressure to say the right thing. And I'm giving you permission that you don't have to hear the perfect thing. And we can both just be human here together.
Oh, I love
Ah,
that.
it was really elegant and beautiful, and I was like, "I should say that rather than I'm contractually obligated to be on this stage, and I actually hate speaking, so thanks for having me." And I actually did
It
say that
might
in
build
England
better
one time.
it might build greater rapport. I kinda like
Well,
that.
it's sometimes it's funny depending on the audience. I remember saying like, "I've already been paid, so, like, what are they gonna do? Deport me back to Australia? I live there, like, I don't," and it was funny, but I do find that really helps me to go, well, just it's all fine. And I also want
Fine.
people to like sort of go, well, if she can do it, I can do it. Like she's not super polished, and sometimes she swears a little bit, but that really helps. The other trick that I do, this is so much fun. I love doing this every time. It makes me giggle so hard. Is the very last thing I get people to stand up and do like an affirmation.
Mhm.
And then I finish. I'm like, thank you very much. I've been here. And then I go, oh my God, a standing ovation. Oh my God, you guys are so kind. And it just is that final piece that just always makes me giggle so much.
Yep, I love
Um,
that. And it leaves the
and
audience with
yeah,
feeling really good about you, right? Like, they're also laughing with you then.
exactly. And that's what I want people to come away from my talks. And but you're right, I don't do it a lot so much. I think that's
Okay.
because of the logistics of
Yep.
the phase of life I'm in. Like I live in Newcastle, Australia. I'm 2.5 hours from Sydney.
Yep.
So, I even had a speaking gig there and it was like 11 o'clock and I was like, I have to stay the night before, guys. Like, I'm not gonna get up at 5 in the
Yep.
morning to
Sparrows.
drive down to
In the
Sydney.
traffic. Yep.
Exactly. Whereas, going to England for me, is 24 hours just on the plane. So I have to
Mhm.
be there 3 days before, and I don't want to leave straight after. Same with the UK, sorry, with America, that's probably 18 hours in the air for me.
Yep.
So it's not the phase of life. And I also have a rule I do not speak in my town
Yeah, right.
because I want to sit at the red light and pick my nose and I want to like, yell at my family in Bunnings and not have someone go, "Oh my God, I just saw her speak and
I've
she's
so blow
actually."
that for me in Brisbane. But anyway,
Yeah.
tell me
That's just an easy rule for me.
that's a nice one. Tell me about the ADHD, and in particular, what would you say to other people who have ADHD or suspect they have ADHD, because that's what's going on a lot at the moment, and who find themselves unable to hold their thoughts long enough to get their words out? They lose their words mid-sentence or they go down all those rabbit holes.
With no conclusion. I love it.
And I mean, I find this a really big one. People will often say to me, like, Kat, I've got so much information that I want to share. Everybody tells me that I need to be sharing it, but I can't because I go down rabbit holes, I ramble, I waffle, I don't get to my point, I confuse people. How do you manage that, and what do you say to that?
Well, even though I said that I hate slides, sometimes slides can be a really great way to keep you on track.
Mm-hmm.
So I always appreciate my previous self for having done the slides, even though I wanted to neck myself trying to do them. So even if it's simple slides and simple information, even sometimes visually for me, having a visual cue to do it, because then I go, oh yeah, I remember I have to tell that story. Oh yeah. So that is useful. I've also done it where I've written symbols on my arm.
Oh, right.
So I
That's
remember
cool.
did a speech and I had like 6 symbols and each one was a point that I wanted to talk about. So it was just easy.
Yep.
Um uh I was like, I lost my train of thought. Also to not try and put too many things in because when I do that, I get to the end and I go, sorry guys, I have to flip through these 20 slides that I'm not going to talk about. And then people get FOMO. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, but what was on those slides? Uh, so I think fewer the better because we do go on tangents, and also in the moment, I think of another story that I want to share on that thing, and so that really helps.
I'm going to
Yeah,
interrupt for a moment, sorry,
go, yeah.
because one of the things that I'm always, always, always teaching my clients, and they really struggle with it, is 3 key messages. No more. Not
Mm.
a single more. No more.
Oh, 3 is hard for me. I always
Yeah.
do like 7. 3, I'm gonna do that from now on, Kat.
3. And there's a few reasons for it. One is what you've just described. There's always more stories. There's always more things that occur to you when you're actually in it. And if you're doing any more than 3, your audience can't remember it anyway. So you're
So
better
true.
off giving them 3 big messages that they go, wow, I walked away with that, rather than overloading and giving yourself more invitations for more rabbit holes.
Oh, that's so true. And also, I hate when I run out of time to do Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
And because Q&A is the best. That's the best bit. And the last couple of ones I've done, I've literally I finish right on time, but I'm like, oh, now I don't get to do Q&A. I'm sorry. I will say though, we talked just before we hit record about perimenopause and ADHD
Please.
and losing your track. And I said I had a story around it. So I was doing this speech, and I like audience participation. I like getting people to raise their hand, and I don't necessarily do questions in it, but this guy raised his hand and, went to stand up. Oh, don't you love when men do that?
Yep.
They're like, I just have a comment to make. Cool. And he stood up and he was visibly drunk. Really, really drunk. And it was like a 5 p.m. keynote from a
Oh
conference that had
dear.
been going all day. And everyone in the audience was immediately like, oh my God, what's she going to do? How's she going to handle it? And I just he asked a mumbling question. And I was like, hey, no, that's cool. Like, no, it's all good. I was like, we'll do questions after. And I was just trying to kind of diffuse the situation. And then he wouldn't sit down, and he wasn't heckling me. He was just drunk. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt immediate compassion for him, because I thought, God, imagine how embarrassing for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wasn't embarrassed for me at all. You know what the best thing is about having ADHD and perimenopause? By the time my speech was finished, memory wiped. I could not even remember it. Like, I just got right back into it. And afterwards, I had people coming up and going, are you okay? And I was like, about what do you mean? They're like, oh, when that guy, and I was like, oh, I forgot. I was
What a
like,
delightful side
I have no
effect.
idea. Absolutely wonderful side effect. I was like, yeah, that's brilliant. It's memory hold, and it's not something that I am taking on as like, oh my God, I did this thing. One time I did a speech. It was at a university. I was a student as well, so it was fine. I literally tripped over myself, hit the wall, both of my shoes flew off into the audience.
Oh my
And again,
goodness.
I was like, that is hilarious. Like, I just thought, how funny. And I honestly think that is my upbringing as a performer. We would get somewhere. My dance teacher, bless her, she started a dance school when she was 17. She had all these kids that had never danced before in a very underprivileged area, and she wanted to turn us into performers. So she had us perform every single weekend. We would be performing at any festival, old folks' homes, any shopping centre that would have us. We would get somewhere and they'd go, oh, you're performing on grass. Like, oh, you're performing on the back of a truck. It's got a flatbed. Oh, the music thing doesn't work. You have to gonna do it a cappella. And so I know I can tap dance on grass. I can do ballet on the back of a pickup truck. Like, that sort of stuff actually feels better to me than if it's all calm. I'm like, bring it on. Let's do the thing. And I think that's the more you do those things, you'll just have those stories where it's like, oh my God, I had to do the thing. And it's fine. Like, nothing bad happened. And now I
Yep.
get to tell it on podcasts.
I think I tell the story often of being a character waitress at Bobby McGee's in Melbourne many, 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 many,
Oh,
many years ago. And it's
that
the
would be
same
fun.
kind of thing. You've got to entertain with whatever you've got going on, whether it's a heckling Bucks night or whether it's a kid's birthday party. That happens in the same night. Like, you've just got to do your thing. I think
The
debating
show
also
must
helps
go
you do
on.
that as well. But I've had a member in my Impactful Presenters course who, at the same time as doing my program, went and did improv classes at the local drama school, because she just wanted to get through that. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to not know what's coming, and to just literally build that performance muscle, embarrassment muscle, whatever it
Oh,
is.
100%. A friend of mine, when we were living in London, he knew he wanted to go into politics. He did that as well. He went and did an improv thing. And then, yeah, he was the Jacinta's climate change minister
Oh,
in
wow.
her thing. But he wanted to get over that. And I've seen videos of him speaking in Parliament. That would be horrendous when they're jeering and like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if you can stand up and bomb in a room of drunk people, like, that's gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. We could talk for hours, but we won't
we
because,
could.
people probably won't listen for hours. I'm curious, before we wrap up, given even just your podcasting, like
Yeah.
you drop a podcast episode every week and you have done so for how many years now?
Oh god, I have no idea, but I mean, I
Lost
started
count after
doing,
5.
I don't know, 10, 15 years or so,
Oh my goodness.
and I batch my podcasts, right? So
Yeah.
I go into the studio and I've booked it from 10 to 5 and literally speak from probably that whole time. And my engineer, he's always like, "Okay, ready for the next one?" And I go, "Yep." And at the end of the day, he's always like, "How can you do that?" And I'm like, "I was born to do it." Like, it's easy for me to do that. I couldn't do like, and I'll do 12 episodes in a day of my podcast. I couldn't do 12 speaking gigs in a day.
Yeah, it is. It's completely different energy output.
It's different. And so that's what works for me in this phase of my life. And same with my podcast interviews where I'm a guest. So I'm doing it all on a Thursday morning. I start at 7 a.m. So I get up, I do my hair and makeup. I've got a couple of different outfit changes and I'll do 5 in a row. And I'll say to people, can you just give me like 2 minutes where I can go to the toilet in between? I'm ready to go. And the only thing I have to watch, I'm like, have I told this story on this podcast already? Or did I say it on the last one? But in this phase of life where I don't want to leave my house necessarily and I don't want to do a lot of travel with my kids are small, this is how I'm using my voice, my
Yeah.
own podcast and being on other people's. And no one can stop you from starting a podcast. Like, no one can stop you. No one
I
can
just,
force you to do it either, right?
but just that line that you just said, I really want to call it out. This is how I choose to use my voice. I mean, my entire why for running this business, for doing this podcast, is because I want more diverse voices contributing to the conversations that matter. And how we do that is literally by showing up. We don't have to wait for
Mhm.
an invitation at the table. We just show up. We contribute to the conversations, and we need
Love
to get
that.
over our being perfect in that contribution.
I love it. That's all we need, right?
What is your, if you had one tip for our listeners who are listening
Mm.
because they want to speak with more confidence, they want to contribute to more conversations that matter, what would be your number one tip?
Well, I think it is that thing of be a contributor, not a
Mm.
guru, is something I've often said because you feel like you have to know all the answers, you have to be perfect, but actually, even if you're bad, that's going to be life changing for someone.
Hmm.
You know, I went to JoJo Siwa's concert. She cannot sing. I feel really bad. She's not a singer, but the passion and energy she put into that concert was life changing for me because I saw someone try really, really hard.
Yeah.
And she did not leave anything on the table. She did not lip sync. She did it all live. She sang, dance. And I think that changed something in me. Also, when, who's that chef? Nigella.
Yep.
She came to Newcastle on her book tour. She sat on a couch and she just answered questions from the audience. That changed something in me too. I went, am I allowed to do that? And so I think we always think, oh, I have to do it perfectly. But the way we show up could be life-changing for someone.
And the way you authentically show up is you're perfect.
Love that.
Yeah. Denise, as we wrap up, where can people find you? Where could people follow you? Where do you like hanging out most, online or not?
Yeah.
And what do you want people to know about? And we'll post all of the links to everything that you mentioned, of course, in the show notes.
Yeah, I probably hang out on Instagram the most, but all of my social handles, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, Twitter even, it's Denise DT. really easy to find. And my website is denisedt.com as well. My books, if people like books, they're available all over the place. I do the audio version myself for all of those books too, if people prefer to listen. And the first version of them too had mistakes in them.
Yep.
The engineer left in like of me going, "Oh, can I do that again?" And they loved it. People loved it. Those mistakes in there. They were like, "Oh, I thought you left them in deliberately." And I went, "Oh my God." So if you like books, start with the books. Otherwise, come and follow me on Instagram, Denise DT.
Beautiful. Oh, such a juicy conversation. I want to wrap up
I
by
learnt
just
a lot, Kat, from you already. I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Kat. Thank you for the permission."
And this is the thing, right? This is the thing. We all have stuff to share. I want to call out that it's perfectly okay to be you, that you don't need to be perfect, and that slides can be useful for staying on track if they're not going to take you down too many rabbit holes. I actually really like that. In fact, it reminds me of a conversation I was having with a group of founders yesterday who were trying to memorize all of their things. And I said, just have a handful of slides. Just use some slides. Denise, thank you so much for your
I'll
time.
remember those lessons. Thank you, Kat, for the permission. You were talking directly to me there.
Dear listener, I really hope that you've enjoyed this guest episode. It's been a while since I've had a guest, and when the opportunity popped up to have Denise on the show, I could not say no. So I hope you've enjoyed. Next week, we return to normal scheduled programming. And in the meantime, until I see you next week, here's to confidence and here's to impact. I'll see you soon.